back to the read. This is Holodynamics. Claims to be a tool that can solve every problem known to the human experience. Can't seem to find a flaw within it other than it can't identify the unknown problem, which will be every one of your complaints, and that every time you make an excuse, that's your unknown problem. But if you use this tool, you'll end up creating everything that you want in your life. So, kind of something I just want to share with anybody. So, kudos to you if you're hanging into this read. I'll just start this other recording where I left off yesterday. Now, when you choose and focus on any given potential, your focus triggers the holodynes aligned with the resonating frequency of that potential. The quantum wave then responds to your focus. Once all boundary conditions are met, by releasing the appropriate amount of the quantum force, and the potential you have chosen becomes real. In short, the quantum wave responds to your focus and choice by manifesting your reality. And what is it we're all focusing on? Are we not focusing on all of the problems right now? That means every time you focus on the problem, you are going to escalate the problem to the point where it's going to escalate so much that by 2012 we'll see our destruction. So the goal is basically recognize the problem, transform that problem, and focus on the solution. And when you have more focus on the solution, that quantum wave will respond and you'll create the solution. And then by 2012, we'll fix the whole friggin' planet. When you put all of this together into one model, holodynes intuitively and rationally thinking, family, and cultural beliefs, the holodynamic plane, the interest wave, the quantum wave, and the stages of development, you have a powerful new tool to use in unfolding your potential. The mind model, which is basically gets a little more complicated when you put all of those pieces together. That's the model of the mind right there. As you can see from the model, the more mature the holodynes, the more the quantum wave they can manage. All minds respond to the implicit order of growth. Not all individuals, however, choose to use their mature holodynes. It is our power of choice that makes us free, or if used unwisely, destroys us. Some of my hardest cases, people that society had completely given up on, murderers, paranoiacs, schizophrenics, and the like, taught me my clearest, most potent lessons. They taught me that nothing is impossible. They taught me that with face-spacing, the mind model, ISP, and the use of my matured holodynes, you can bravely go where others fear to tread. That there is a way for you to get from point A to point B, no matter how limited your skills at present. That you cannot even wish for a thing unless the potential is already there, enfold within your eye, your full potential self. And they taught me that by learning how to face-space, to quantum think, to access the holodynes which are causing all the problems in the world, you can confront those problems on the front line. Everyone has ISP. Everyone and everything responds to the implicit order. Now that's like, why would you come up with a thought? Why would you come up with an idea? If you can come up with the idea, that means you know how to unfold it. Otherwise, the idea would never ever pop into your head. Just kind of wrap your brain around that one. You have a really, really cool idea. It's because you know how to unfold it. You're just in process of trying to put all of the pieces together to be able to unfold it. How then do you get to the holodynes that are causing all the problems? You are using your ISP to look beneath all the chaotic behavior, and you give these holodynes a physical manifestation. Once you sense the holodynes, you communicate directly with them, you find their intent, and you mature them to their real intentionality, their fullest potential. This process is called tracking and will be explained in more detail in Chapter 3. The tracking process works for all holodynes and can be used to access any problematic or primitive thinking. Get the holodynes involved and change the physics of the mind. As you reach outward into society, your I unfolds and your full potential begins to manifest itself. This process is called potentializing and will be explained in Chapter 4. These two natural growth processes work universally in biological systems, in mechanical systems, in human relations, and in personal and collective development. Take the example of Jones Salk. Salk got so that he became at one with the polio virus so that he could feel its intentionality, and from that intentionality could develop the vaccine, which was to become the cure for polio. He writes, "When I become a scientist, I would picture myself as the virus or as a cancer cell, for example, and try to sense what it would be like to be either. I would also imagine myself as the immune system and would try to reconstruct what I would do as an immune system engages in combating a virus or a cancer cell." I then discovered what the words identification and empathy meant. I could identify with a virus or a cell and with the immune system. I could also empathize with people in different situations, circumstances, and states of mind. I realized that, objectively speaking, there was not one fixed point of view or one perspective, but many changing points of view that depended upon circumstances. I developed the ability to shift my perspective. In this way, I could manage to solve problems more easily. I found myself at one with the object or with the subject, and I could even project myself in time through my imagination and bring to realization intentions or imaginings as if they had become self-fulfilling prophecies. I recognized the importance and value of the mind and the value of the game of empathetically shifting perspective in dealing with human problems, as well as in unveiling the mysteries of nature. If human mind can do one, it should be able to do the other. Now, I am really against vaccines, because why do you need a vaccine in the first place? And remember, this guy is a doctor, and doctors tend to have a need for you to be sick in order for them to have some value. And they will perpetuate the need for them to have value, so they are actually creating more illnesses than they're solving. It's like they needed to have the cause, they needed to have the problem there so that this guy can earn a living creating the vaccine. And it's like, why not get rid of the causes? But then this guy would have been out of work. But at the same time, it's like, what a beautiful way to see how he came up with the cure. But it's like, take a step further, and he would have been a lot more valuable as a scientist to say, oh, something's causing this disease, and we should stop that behavior so it doesn't create the disease. So there are many contradictions within this doctor's mindset. He's just as insane as the rest of us, and I'm just picking out his contradictions. But the work is solid. The work is really solid, and he's a genius for it and should win a Nobel Peace Prize if he believed his own work. Or take the example of Nikola Tesla. Tesla invented over 1,000 inventions that laid the foundation for our electronic age. He invented such things as transformers, amplifiers, switchboards, electric motors, and alternating current. And he did this by using his ISP. His process of intuitive sensory perception was so acute he could see the potential of any invention vividly, as though it were already real. He could sense it with all his senses. So when he imagined an electric motor, for instance, he could see that the motor in every detail. He could take it apart, put it back together, and even watch it running so that the brushes wore down its copper cylinders, all in his mind. Tesla said it was both a blessing and a curse. A blessing because he could imagine an invention in such detail, but a curse because the image wouldn't go away until he actually built it. Interesting how he quotes Nikola Tesla It is very much a curse of what he was doing, and it is almost like he was pushed into creating our world today, and like he was the inventor, but there was some other insane guy that took him up on that. And he does offer an awful lot like free energy, um, but he was a guy, like he ended up dying, and yet he can cure everything. He ended up suffering his own illnesses while he could heal other people. And it's almost like if he focused a lot on healing himself, then his health would have been up. His whole life experience wouldn't have been appeared like a curse to him. There's a lot of things I see within Tesla that kind of didn't unfold the best, although it appears to be the best. I can get into deeper with that, but I won't. When Einstein developed his theory of relativity, he announced his discovery to the world from strictly rational scientific perspective. It was not until 50 years later that he admitted in his personal journey how he had come upon his amazing theory. He discovered the relationship between light velocity and mass becoming a light wave. He rode along with the other light waves and talked to them and asked them how they worked. And that's how he conceived his theory of relativity. Most great discoveries have been made by people using their intuitive sensory perception. We all have within our marvelous computer our intuitive mind that can take the whole context of things and through its intuitive thinking create ingenious solutions to our personal problems and for the betterment of humanity. We have now come to a time when every one of us, every worker, parent, business person, teacher, student, doctor, lawyer, and politician must learn how to use intuitive thinking, learn how to do what all potentialized people have known how to do. Now, you can see our globe collapsing right now, and for the most part, you have to admit there's a cause that's creating all of this, like the root causes of everything. And a lot of everything that's going wrong is every one of these professionals that used every one of these processes, because while they tapped into some things, they didn't tap into all things. And that's what this whole holodynamics is about, is looking at the whole perspective. And while we think they brought out all of these amazing things, it is all of these amazing things that created the perception of how we view our reality. And it's how we view our reality that's sustaining the crashing of a global, economic system. So it's like what we needed at the time. We thought we were doing the right thing at the time, but it's just time to know a little bit better of what we need to include the whole package. In all of this, he's only giving you the example of how these really good professional people could use their intuitive thinking, but they didn't use their maturity and say, how would it affect the world? And that's why anytime I see a solution, it's a solution for me. I will only know it's a solution for everyone if I open up communication and find out, okay, this works for me. Does it work for you? And when we have that global agreement, then we know we're on the right track. But until then, my great idea is only a great idea for me. And if you come up with a great idea, it's only a great idea for you. But as the science suggests, you have to be attached to reach full maturity. You really have to attach what's good for you must also be good for the whole. One of the thickest mentalities that I see is doing everything for the greater good. And what that means is that the greater good means the majority at the cost of the few. The Mayans would sacrifice a few people so that the greater good. That was what our mistake was. Politically, economically, we always look at what's good for the greater population at the, cost effective. A few people must die. The wrong way of thinking. The greater good involves every single one of us. Not one is left behind. I'll continue.